Hi, Niklas. Welcome to the LogTech podcast.
Thank you very much, Steffen. Nice to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Our topic today is navigating the future, the power of predictive analytics in supply chain. And maybe before we start off, just give us a short introduction about yourself and what you do at 4Flow.
Yeah, of course. So 4Flow is a global company that provides consulting, software, and 4PL or managed services in the field of supply chain management and logistics. We provide end-to-end solutions for our customers to optimize and transform their supply chains. Especially the transformation aspect becomes more and more important over the past few years in the direction of technology and the full exploitation of those benefits. I started at 4Flow already 14 years ago. I started in the consulting business line, did a lot of projects in transportation optimization, and then switched in 2017 to 4Flow Management. This is the 4PL service provider, and here I am responsible for the solutions that we provide to our customers that have two main focuses. First of all, existing solutions that always consist of a technology and a process, adapting that to current customer requirements and improving that over time. And on the second focus, also looking into the technology trends, what can we utilize for our customers, and developing new services and new solutions for that.
Okay, so your role is mainly in-house, but also related to customers, right?
Yes, it is in-house. My customers are twofold, so to say. First of all, our customer teams who then provide the services to the end customer. However, of course, I'm in quite detailed discussions with the customer directly to understand their requirements and to understand also where they are going to, how we can support them in their transformation of their logistics and supply chain management.
Yeah, okay. And maybe because it's important for the episode today, can you give us a crisp explanation about predictive analytics? So what is actually meant by that?
Yeah, predictive analytics is in technology or is a method that uses a lot of data in order to look a little bit into the future or getting more insights from vast amounts of data, understanding the underlying patterns to reveal actually the true benefit from big data in favor of operations or company success.
Yeah. Okay. So and also the predictive part actually is then the most important to optimize or to steer supply chains efficiently, right?
Yes, predictive analytics goes into very many different directions. This can be the forecasting of volumes, for example, or capacity. They can also be the prediction of the optimal stock inventory allocation. It can also be the prediction of prices for transport or other topics for events, for exceptions. And by using that kind of insights, getting better prepared on what is about to come.
And what would you say are the core areas in the supply chain where you really get benefits from predictive analytics? So is it rather the international sea freight part, for example, or is it more on the local road freight part? Where's actually the main benefit coming in?
Yeah, I would say there is no preferred area for that because the entire supply chain bears significant potential for that. The main target of predictive analytics is to do a data-driven decision process. Today, often decision processes are rather on a gut feeling or on historic data. However, that can be flawed. And anticipating future events or developments is often not the case. So by applying certain statistics methods or models for predictive analytics, you can go into different directions. For example, you can forecast the volume for shipments over the next few weeks, and with that securing capacity at an freight forwarder, for example. Or you can also say, okay, how will prices decrease or increase over the next few weeks and months, and is it worth then more to purchase long-term contracts or short-term? You can also, of course, forecast the demand, which is a very crucial ingredient for the entire supply chain and operations planning. It's always at the beginning, and the better the quality of that forecast is, the better also the result of the entire S&OP planning takes place. Also in predictive maintenance, it is a big field. Predictive maintenance basically means to understand when is a machine or a process most likely to fail, and to anticipate that before that in order to kick off maintenance processes. So we do see a lot of different application areas. As long as data is available in quality and accessibility, we can apply certain methods in order to get the benefits and the underlying patterns.
And in all these different areas, would you say there are some areas that that are more advanced in that are actually already using data predictive analytics, or any areas where absolutely no data is available, for example?
Yeah, I would say predictive maintenance is a big field already, which is well established. Also in the forecasting of demand, it is coming more and more. I just read an article a couple of weeks ago, which stated that 30% of supply chain professionals or supply chain managers already use predictive analytics somewhere in their supply chain. Yeah? It's not always distributed equally, but where a lot of data is on hand, it is already used today, and that's especially in forecasting or in maintenance. It comes also slowly now into forecasting of capacity. So we are using that in order to estimate how much transportation capacity we will need in the next few weeks, to align that then with a certain service providers and forwarders.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, in the end, to actually have analytics, we need data. And is there there's not that one data source that gives you data for all these areas, right? You need to have like various different tools, I expect.
Unfortunately not. And yes, data is the key ingredient for predictive analytics. What we see on our customers is that first of all, the awareness of predictive analytics and also artificial intelligence becomes more and more important. We have got customers, they say, hey, I have got so much supply chain data. Can't we do something fancy with that? And how do I actually leverage the advantage for that? And can't we do something with AI, for example? And I always try to say, okay, what kind of problem do we want to use or solve? Yeah? So what kind of pain do you currently have in your process, which might be supported by a more data-driven decision-making process? And in that discussion, we then detect, okay, what kind of challenge do we want to solve and what kind of data we need for that. And often we get to the point that we find out data is somehow available in the first part. So some data is available. However, the quality is not sufficient. Also here, predictive analytics provides already some methods to increase the quality of data, for example, by eliminating faulty data or filling up gaps by guessing what would be an appropriate data set. And we often start with that and see that it already delivers some value. But you're also right. There are many more data sources in companies available which cannot be assessed because they are siloed. somewhere. They have got they are in different departments. For example, when we talk to the transportation department, they do not have got the access to inventory data, or when we talk to the warehouse management, they don't have got access to clear access to the demand forecasting and so on. And that is something where the awareness of customers, especially supply chain leaders, gets more and more aware on to break those kind of silos up, to make it accessible, to connect it, because then we can actually get even more benefit out of that. Yeah, imagine, for example, we can do the transportation forecast not only from the volumes that is expected and that we saw over the past few weeks and months, but also when we can connect it to the inventories level to see, okay, is a certain transport actually necessary, or is the inventory enough to cover that for the next few days?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just said that customers are coming to you and asking, can we just do something with AI? I mean, that's obviously because it's a hype topic. And usually we see organizations moving really slow in implementing new technologies. Do you actually think it's appropriate or a good way that now supply chain leaders are using hype topics such as AI, blockchain in the past, or whatever, to actually get faster decision making within their C-level, for example? Because now at the moment there's that kind of fear of missing out, and actually you can use that for yourself as a supply chain leader to get faster decisions or faster approvals of projects involving technology. Do you think that's a good way, or actually do you see that also?
Yes, of course. The development of technology that we see over the past 5 years is really breathtaking. Yeah? When we look back 2 years ago, the first LLMs, large language models, or GPTs, were invented. The development since then has been significant. And also the capabilities of machine learning or of other AI related technologies is increasing a lot. And this is put more and more also into the media. It is put more and more also into the awareness of supply chain leaders. What we see is that the so-called democratization of technology picks up, and democratization of technology means that technology is not only available and accessible and usable for experts, but also for non-tech experts. We do see developments in terms of software, for example, with low-code or no-code platforms where you can easily build applications based on AI. And I think that is helping, because AI will not come, it is already there. And also predictive analytics will not come, it is already there. And I assume that it will become more and more important to base certain decisions on data and to make an educated and best decision on that. Because taking the decision today is often still human based. Yeah, so we see systems where we call it human in the loop. The system provides or proposes a certain decision. However, the decision execution takes place by a human. That is the one of the first phases of guided or assistance in artificial intelligence. The next step would be that the software or the virtual assistants proposes, okay, what is the next step you need to take in order to complete a certain task. And the third step is then, of course, wherever decisions are being made by humans today, then let it be done by machines or by software in the future. And that will increase over the next few years. Of course, it's good when supply chain professionals take a look into that, because predictive analytics and AI is a clear competitive advantage.
Yeah, and today it's a competitive advantage, but in the future it's maybe essential to actually survive in the whole environment.
As with often or with other inventions, the early birds start to develop in development or in technology. Then followers jump on that, and at a certain point in time, it's a commodity. Yeah, you need to have it because everyone else also has it. That's why it's also necessary to now start the journey to get into that and to see, okay, where can I actually apply AI in my processes in order to make them more efficient?
Yeah. And I think you already mentioned that in the preparation call of this meeting. It's super important that there's not just technology, or technology itself will just not solve anything. Then it must be a process and people in place as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen just technology solving a problem without people and the process being aligned?
I once was on a conference where a company introduced their way how they utilize and exploit blockchain. The blockchain process that was then for storing some data and documentations, making that accessible and so on. And it had a little bit the feeling that they had the solution and then looked for an issue to apply it to. The same, or I would have seen for that challenges they wanted to master also alternative solutions like document systems or an integrated transportation management platform, where then also different stakeholders can collaborate on or look into data real time. Yeah? So you always have to see what is the issue, what kind of challenge do I want to overcome, and then look into the 3 dimensions. First of all, technology, processes, and people or organization, because only when those 3 are in sync, you get the full benefit out of that technology. And maybe I add to that. What is very important is understanding the technology, and also understanding where are the limitations, where are opportunities. I remember very well when in the 2000s, somewhere 2005, 2006, Google Maps was introduced in the European market. I read a lot of stories where people drove with their cars into woods or into the water or crashed because Google said, now turn right. Although there was no street at all. And that is a good example that, of course, technology can fail. And technology is just one tool to be applied for a certain problem. However, the human always needs to revise or think about, is that decision, is that data, is that proposal, what the software is doing, is that still correct? And then also use that in order to solve a challenge. And we call that data literacy. Data literacy is the ability to read, understand, create, and communicate data. And we have talked about a lot about data before. Also, people need to understand, how do I read a certain graph or a certain statistic? How do I take the right interpretation from that? How do I derive the right decision? Because the best analytics is not worth it if it's applied wrong.
Yeah. And do you have a way how to actually train people on that? Because, I mean, in the end, it's not just, as you said, it's not just looking at data and understanding the data. It's also deriving the right decisions out of that?
No, I would say data literacy, everyone needs to get involved in that. And it doesn't matter whether that's on intern level or team member level or CEO level or management. Everyone, and also myself, and everyone has to learn how we use data and to get the right decisions. And of course, you're right. We have to train a lot because the average profile, the average job description in supply chain management will change over the next 10 to 15 years. We will have got different tools in order to solve our problems, and we need to learn that. Training and upskilling is one method, but you also need to establish a data-driven mindset and a data-driven culture. So establishing the right KPIs to focus on, and right KPIs is very individual. It can be just one KPI for a certain process. It can be a set of KPIs. It can be different from one company to another, but it's the right KPIs which are then followed up very closely. And you don't need 20 or 25 KPIs, but maybe 5 to 10 are the right one, as long as you also have got them embedded into certain processes, because you need to review them very regularly. You have to set thresholds. You have to then derive certain actions if the KPI is not developing into the right direction. And you also have to follow up your actions that you derive, because you need to see, are they contributing to my overall objective, or are they not?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a long journey. That's nothing that happens overnight. Implementing
not.
Technology can be more or less overnight, but using it correctly is then the long-term journey.
Yeah, that is right. And we foresee several years for that. And I think the best way is to understand, how does a certain job profile look like in 5 or in 10 years? And then identify the requirements towards that job profile and see what is the gap towards today. And then step by step, closing that gap with training, with also on the introduction of user-friendly software, integrating users in the development of software, and so on.
Coming back to predictive analytics a bit, have you seen any areas where predictive analytics make no sense?
I mean, there's not one way where I would say, hey, here's predictive analytics not worth to try, because you always, as said in the beginning, you always need to understand the problem you want to solve, and then try to see, is data available, has the data the right quality for that, what's the process afterwards, and I cannot think of anything where not at least an advanced analytics, maybe not predictive, but advanced analytics can support the decision making process, as long as said data is available, people are installed and have the right skills, and also the process is fitting.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point, because usually we say it doesn't make sense to throw technology if you don't have a problem, or you need to know the problem in order to find the right technology. But especially in terms when I would just want to improve my supply chain, and we all know that sentence or that saying, you don't know what you don't know. If I actually don't know my problem, how do I then try to improve my supply chain?
That's a fair question. And I think in the beginning, you need to define, what is my strategy? What is my strategy towards supply chain maturity? Where do I want to go? And then the first step after that is creating transparency. Creating transparency on material flows, on information flows, on financial flows as well. And it's not only having in a GPS position of a truck somewhere on a map,
Yeah.
but also understanding what kind of inventories do I have? Where do I have got in not so good look into the future? So where do I have got certain uncertainties which cause in the further planning and detailing significant uncertainties to, and then rather say, okay, let's focus on the core issue, create transparency there. And as soon as I have got transparency, I can measure it, I can see all the challenges, and then work on that step by step.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's very important. Otherwise, people might also say, I don't have a problem. I don't want to, or there's nothing to improve here. But that's actually very
I don't
important.
think
That it's never perfect.
But I don't think that this is the typical mindset of a supply chain professional, because supply chain management is always about efficiency, making things even better, having a continuous improvement process. And I would bet that many leaders and supply chain executives know very well where they want to go.
Yeah, especially in larger companies, or the larger the company gets, the more, if we have predictive analytics, we need that whole lot of data. Is it actually possible to do that without machine learning or AI?
I would say yes, but no. Yeah, of course, because the big advantage of machine learning and predictive analytics is that patterns and the underlying impacts are identified much faster and much quicker. Yeah? So if you, I give a very precise example. We do have got a technology in place which we call exception prediction. For us in transportation management, an exception is or occurs whenever something is not going to plan. And from the moment where an exception happens until the detection, the longer that time is, the more effort we have to put in order to resolve that. So we would like to understand, first of all, or we would like to reduce the time between actual happening and detection, and maybe even getting ahead of a certain incident happening. So we want to know what will go wrong in the next few days so that I can prepare today. So we have set up in certain analytics, which started in the beginning with 35 features. A feature is an impact factor that evaluates whether a certain exception can happen or not. And 35 features, you can put it very blankly or simply, is one column in an Excel file. Yeah, it's one characteristics of a certain issue, and the machine learning is available by having those or analyzing those 35 impact factors, which have got a certain effect on the exception. So if I say, for example, the supplier ships actually more volume than he announces, that can have got different root causes. For example, because he needs to replenish more, or he overships, or he had some vacation before, and then the next day he just pushes everything out of the storage system. Yeah? So it can have got different root causes, and the machine learning is able to detect that much quicker for every supplier or for every transport relation than a human would do. And maybe a human would detect the same pattern, but as soon as the patterns changes, also the algorithm will detect that. Yeah. So if I know, okay, every third Monday or every first Monday in the morning in the month, there is an overshipment in terms of volume for a certain supplier, I can do something about that. However, maybe afterwards it's every third Thursday when the weather is bad and the forecast was not accurate and so on. So the changing pattern of that is detected much quicker by machine learning, and it's also done somehow automatically. And that's why I would say, in order to implement in a more efficient way, the technology is much more efficient than a human is possible. And I said we started with 35 impact factors. We are now with we are more than 100 different impact factors, and 100 different impact factors, that is not possible for a human to cognitively understand what are now the real impact factors, and how do I need to filter for that, or how do I need to search for that to detect actually an exception.
Yeah, and I mean, also, if you take factors like, for example, holidays or vacation of the supplier or in that area, it's nearly impossible to get all that information with the standard tool set that a company has, right?
Right. Yes.
And then, do you provide that data then as well automatically?
So we use data that we get from the system or from the process, and we operate on an integrated transportation management platform, for example, where a lot of data is created and generated. And that data we use then for the exception prediction process. We enhance that with external data, for example, vacation information, or also weather information, or traffic information that we ingest from external sources.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's so much information. As you said, it's cognitively nearly impossible for any human being to do that.
Yeah. Maybe there are some experts out there who can do that, but I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, me neither. And in your experience, what is the most difficult task actually to set up predictive analytics? Is it rather getting the data? Is it aligning with the people? Is it actually understanding the process or setting up the process for that? What is the most difficult?
Yeah, I would say the definition of the precise problem and the precise issue statement. That is the core topic you have to do in order to understand what do I have to do in order to solve that. And sometimes it's not so clear what is the issue actually. And but when I have got a clear picture of that, then I can go and say, okay, what kind of data do I need for that? And getting that data is also sometimes difficult with DSGVO and GDPR and also other data protection agreements. It's not always easy to access that data. It takes some time. And then also identifying, is the data, does it have the right quality for that? But that's part of the process. Yeah. So and I would assume most companies have got those issues accessing the right data with the right quality. So if companies start with predictive analytics and the issue statement is clear, don't get frustrated when it's not done after 2 weeks, because most likely it takes longer in order to get to the data.
Yeah. What is your estimation? How long does it take in general to set it up for one area of the supply chain?
That is very depending from the use case, I would say, and also of the maturity of the data systems and the data quality. It can range from several days until several months. And also, of course, the complexity of the issue. There's, I think, no general rule of that.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot, Niklas. I have, to the end, one more question, and that is, if you had one wish for supply chain for 2025, what would it be?
Let's talk about issues. Let's talk about problems that we can solve based on data, and let's see how we can do that. Yeah? And the discussion of that often reveals a very good process. And I've seen very many customers and also teams who have got a very high motivation to integrate that into their operational processes. And I would say, great, let's work on that. Let's continue that. Let's increase that even.
Nice. Very good statement for 2025. Thanks a lot. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for being here. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.